Hello viewers, welcome back to the Moose Mobile Auto Repair channel, and today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm going to be making a small series about common automotive misconceptions. It's going to be either a myth or a fact. So I'm going to be talking about a few things. So the first thing I'm going to be discussing about is that once you switch from conventional oil to synthetic oil, you can't go back. Now this one is false, is a myth, is simply is not true. But I have heard of this one from a few people, especially from my customers. So I had to explain to them regarding that. So if a vehicle takes conventional oil and you switch over to synthetic oil, you can switch back and forth as much as you want. There's no problem. It's just that the service interval is going to change. So usually conventional oil is 3,000 miles usually, or 5,000 kilometers, 3 months or so. And in synthetic oil is going to be dependent greatly on the vehicle and the oil that's used and the oil filter. So usually on average 5,000 miles or 8,000 kilometers, roughly anywhere from 4 to 6 months. Now everything is going to be dependent on the driving conditions and the vehicle, the make and model. So everything is going to vary, but this is just a rough a rule of thumb. Synthetic oil would be roughly 5,000 miles or 8,000 kilometers, 4 to 6 months, depending on driving conditions. So now a majority of vehicles today, they pretty much almost all of them utilize synthetic oil. So there's usually not too much of a problem there, but slightly older vehicles in which you could put conventional or synthetic oil, the issue is that if a vehicle or engine has been using a conventional oil for most of its life, and let's say it has accumulated quite a bit of mileage, the issue is that when you switch from conventional to a synthetic, later down the road, maybe within a few thousand kilometers or miles, you will start to have oil leaks. The issue with that is that synthetic oil has better flow characteristics, and so that because that a vehicle has been using conventional oil for most, or if for all of its life, and once you start switching over to synthetic oil, the seals inside the engine, they have hardened to a certain specific amount. So the elasticity of the oil seals in the engine have changed. So the hardness of the seals, and so that over time, the issue is that once you switch to synthetic oil, the oil can go past the seals and start causing leaks. So that's the main issue, is when you switch from conventional to synthetic. The problem here is that my advice is that if a vehicle has been using conventional oil for most or for all of its life, I would suggest to stick with using conventional oil only, because when you start putting synthetic oil, it's possible that it could cause problems with the existing seals that's already in the engine. When I say seals, I'm talking about things like the front crankshaft seal or the rear main crankshaft seal, like this one here. This is a rear main seal from a vehicle that I recently replaced on. Over the years, when the engine has accumulated a lot of mileage, the seals, they start to harden and they lose their elasticity. And so the issue is that, how I was saying earlier, that when you start using synthetic oil, the issue is that the synthetic oil can flow very well, especially at colder temperatures. So the oil will get past the seals and it'll start to leak. And then you're going to have a very expensive repair bill after that. But aside from using both of these oils, there's no other issues aside from that. Now, if you do switch over to a synthetic oil, in my experience, I have seen vehicles that have used conventional oil for most of its life. It started leaking oil past the seals after a few thousand kilometers or so. And so because of that, I would highly recommend that just keep using conventional oil if you have a very old vehicle. And because the issue is that if you start using uh, synthetic, it's just going to cause problems, and you're going to be replacing all of the seals in the engine. Now the next one is not so much of a misconception, but it's something that uh, really bothers me in the trade. Uh, when people state that an automobile or vehicle is an investment, it's not an investment. It's a liability, because the vehicles cost you money. And so the problem with that is that you constantly have to put fuel inside the vehicle, or depending if you have a gasoline engine or diesel, or or any electric vehicle, it's still going to cost you money to keep it running, and all of the maintenance and stuff. Now, some people, they may argue that it's not so much of a liability until the vehicle gives you excessive problems, in which you are fixing it every 2 to 3 weeks, and the repair bill is very high. And so that even though that we use our vehicles to go to work and to do stuff, uh, it, sometimes a vehicle can be a workhorse for somebody, but it's still going to be an additional added expense. So it's not really an investment. It's a necessity. So it's not something that's an investment to make you money. It actually, you are losing money. It's an added expense. So therefore, it's a liability. And so the problem here is that, say that you purchase a brand new vehicle from the dealership, and as soon as you drive it off the lot, it has already depreciated a few $1,000s or so. And the rule of thumb is that usually vehicles, I believe, would lose about anywhere from 15 to 20% of its resale value since brand new. But that percentages will change depending on the make and model of the vehicle, and the year, and so forth. So every time I keep seeing and hearing in ads, uh, protect your investment, this and that. It's not an investment. It's a liability. A vehicle costs you money to run and to keep it and to run it and to pay the car insurance and so on. So again, it's not an investment. It's a liability, regardless of what people say. But However, if you do have something such as a classic car, or something of value that is worth something, it could be somewhat of an investment. But in the long run, if you keep it for too long, you're gonna have to spend some money to keep it running. So it really depends on several factors. Now the other one is that I need to warm up my vehicle before I can drive it. This is false. Now, in a majority of cases, uh, modern vehicles today are computer controlled, and the fuel injection and everything in modern vehicles are all computer controlled. So as soon as you start that vehicle up, it's okay. It's okay to go and to drive it. Now, if you are in colder climates, like in frigid weather, in like minus 10, 20 Celsius, or whatever. And if you live in United States, you will be using the Fahrenheit unit. So if it's cold, by the time you start the vehicle and you put your seatbelt on and you play around with the climate control, adjust the mirrors in your seat, by that time approximately half a minute or 1 minute has gone by. So it will be safe to drive the vehicle after that. Now, in the winter time, I was saying that for some vehicles, the transmission may need to be warmed up. I think a minute or two should be sufficient. But as soon as you start to drive, you can drive the vehicle easy, and it should be fine. But even the transmissions today are also computer controlled, so you probably won't damage anything. So overall, when you start the vehicle, the oil doesn't need too much time to circulate inside the engine. Probably after like 5 or 10 seconds, the oil has been circulated, even in colder weather. But in colder weather, usually by the time you clean the snow off the car and everything, the engine will be warmed up, and it's okay to drive it after that. You just need to take it easy and drive easy when the vehicle is cold until it's warmed up after that. So I'm going to conclude this part of this series here. Just let me know if you guys enjoyed this one or not. And just let me know in the comments below. And if you have any suggestions or ideas or criticisms, just let me know, and we'll go from there. I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for watching.